Chapter 1. The Bonfire. Axel Rush leaned against the cold railing of his front porch. Black sleeves tugged over his hands, the distant hum of drones above barely breaking the silence of midnight. It was supposed to be a quiet night, but across the street they were burning music. A towering bonfire roared in the cul-de-sac. Government officers, faceless in their mirror masks, fed it with boxes of cassettes, vinyls, USBs, anything that could carry a sound wave. No one else in the neighborhood watched. Curtains were drawn. Lights dimmed. Compliance. Axel didn't flinch as the embers crackled into the sky. He just stared, frozen in some unspoken grief. He had no way to describe the ache. It wasn't nostalgia. He barely heard real music before it was banned. It was emptiness, like something sacred was being erased, and his body remembered what his mind had never known. Then, just before the last record shattered in the fire, he blinked, and the world blinked back. A girl stood at the edge of the flames, where no one else could see her, her hair like neon starlight, a glow in her eyes that wasn't natural, wasn't human. She didn't speak, didn't move, just stared into Axel's soul like she'd been waiting for him forever. Then just like that, she was gone. Chapter 2. The Digital Girl. Loretta Rose rerouted power from the east node of the Dream Gate, stabilizing it just long enough to punch in the coordinates. The pulse shuddered through the system, flickering lights in the corridor of her mind's dream lab. The gate's integrity was failing again. Too many variables, too much chaos in the line. But she saw him. He'd finally looked, finally felt something. The system connected them for only 4 seconds, but it was enough. His mind had pulled her in. That meant he could still dream, maybe even hear music. She pulled up the interface, glowing symbols orbiting her fingertips like constellations. Dream signature confirmed. Subject viable. Prophecy integrity holding at 33%. Status still alone. She bit her lip. Not for long. Chapter 3. Zoning off. Axel didn't know how long he stood there, but eventually the fire died and the officers left, their black trucks slinking away like shadows. He walked back inside, but everything felt different now, like gravity had changed. He collapsed onto his bed, too restless to sleep, but too hollow to stay awake. His mind drifted, not into sleep, but into something deeper, something louder. Music. He heard it. A melody buried in silence, a whisper of synth, the flicker of a voice, distant and full of longing, and then Loretta again. "Welcome to the Somnic subspace," she said. "You're not supposed to be here." Chapter 4. The Archive. The dreamscape shimmered around Axel like a living aurora. Buildings half made of memory. Roads paved with static. Loretta guided him through a collapsed stairwell that looped on itself until it opened into a void. Floating inside that endless space was a single room glowing faintly. As they stepped in, Axel's breath caught. Old speakers levitated gently above the ground. Cassette tapes, reels, wax cylinders, some broken, some whole, floated like relics in a museum without walls. At the center of it all, a crystalline orb pulsed with faint rhythm. Loretta stepped forward and tapped it. Song 001. Digital Girl, unknown artist. The song filled with synthetic harmonies, airy, nostalgic, and strange. The voice was warped, like it had come from a dream itself. It wasn't perfect. Bits skipped, notes glitched. But Axel felt something impossible. His heart clenched, a memory he didn't have, a place he's never been, something beautiful and sad and too real to be faked. Loretta didn't look at him, just stared into the orb like it was all that mattered. "This was the first song I ever found," she whispered. "It came to me in a dream I shouldn't have had. And when I woke up, I built a recorder from the memory." Axel was silent. Then the orb shifted again. Song 002, Deep Blue Corridor, fragmented. This one was darker, moody bass, echoes like underwater drums, a song of movement, running through tunnels, evading something unseen. Loretta said nothing during this one. She simply watched him. When it ended, Axel asked the only question he could think of. "Why don't we have more?" Loretta's eyes met his. "Because dreams don't want to give them up. And when they do, they take something in return." Chapter 5. The First Door. Later, Loretta walked Axel to a place she called a stable zone, a patch of the sonic subspace where dream travel was least likely to break the rules. She pointed to an arch of glowing light, flickering like fire trapped in glass. "This door leads to another dreamwalker," she said. "Someone who might know how to extract the full songs." Axel hesitated. "Will it take something from me?" Loretta didn't answer. Instead, she reached into her satchel and pulled out a crumpled photo, a blurry image of 3 people huddled together on a rooftop. She tapped on one of the faces. "This is Tris. They remember music better than anyone I've met, but they're fractured. The dreamscape scattered their memory. What does it mean?" "It means they're not all in one place anymore." Chapter 6. The Echoes of Tris. Axel stepped through the door. He was immediately submerged in sound, a cityscape made of ringing tones and warped frequencies, where every footstep echoed like a broken piano. Neon ads blinked in a language he didn't recognize. The sky pulsed like a speaker cone, and in the middle of it all, Tris sat on a bench made of VHS tape, rewinding the air around them. "Been waiting," they said without looking up. "You're the new one, huh?" Axel nodded. Tris pulled a melody out of thin air, literally. With a flick of a wrist, they yanked the piece of sound and stitched it into a floating ribbon. Music here wasn't just heard, it was sculpted. "Loretta said you remember things," Axel said. Tris smiled without joy. "Bits, echoes, flashes." Then they grew serious. "You'll need more than ears, Axel. You'll need courage. Because the next song won't come easy. It's hidden in a nightmare." Chapter 7. The Nightmare Extractor. The dreamscape flickered around them, darker than usual, clouded by static and distant thunder that sounded like tape reels rewinding in reverse. Axel and Loretta stood in a cavernous dome built from obsidian light. It wasn't natural. It wasn't part of the subscape's usual architecture. It was something that Loretta had built. She called it the Labyrintharium, a place anchored by her own memory, stabilized by her raw willpower. Floating platforms, digital workbenches, glowing schematics, It all hung together like a fragmented thought that refused to collapse. In the center of the labyrintharium stood a half-finished machine. Its base looked like a cross between an old arcade cabinet and a medical scanner, wires flailing like nerves. At the top, a circular chamber, empty but humming, waiting. Above that, a mechanical halo slowly rotated, casting shadows that didn't belong to them. "This is a nightmare extractor," Loretta said, her voice lower than usual. "We use it to pull songs from places where dreams don't want us to go, places nightmares bury things." Axel circled the machine. "It looks alive." "In a way it is," she replied. "But it can't run without a power source strong enough to anchor the mind during extraction. If you're not grounded, the dream collapses. You collapse with it." He stared at her. "So what do we need?" Loretta swiped her hand through the air, pulling up a floating blueprint glowing with some crimson lines. "Required dream crystal. 1X. Status. Unknown location." "It's called a dream crystal," she said. "I've only ever seen one before. Back when I was still learning how to stabilize doors." "Where?" Axel asked. She hesitated. For the first time, he noticed something in her eyes. Fear, maybe. Or regret. "There's a sector in the subspace of Dreamway Society marked as red-listed. We call it the Reverb Hollow. The servers there are unstable. Sometimes they loop time. Sometimes they echo thoughts that never happened. It's dangerous." Axel thought of the bonfire, of the moment the first song hit his chest like a memory he never had, of the possibility, however impossible, that music could be saved. He nodded. "Then we go." Loretta didn't smile. Instead, she reached into her coat and pulled out a glowing shard, no larger than a marble, pulsating blue. "This is a guide fragment. It'll take us to the crystal, if we survive the hollow." Chapter 8. Into the Reverb Hollow. They arrived at the edge of the Reverb Hollow, through a door that cracked like glass when opened, a warning from the subspace itself. On the other side was a fog-soaked forest of ruined sound towers. Giant speaker cones jutted from the ground like ancient trees, wires dangling like vines. A low-frequency hum pulsed beneath their feet. The air buzzed with distortion. Axel tightened the strap on the strange gauntlet Loretta had given him. It looked like a circuit board wrapped in silver cloth, with a needle-thin antenna sticking out the top. Loretta adjusted a sleek shoulder rig that clicked when she moved, housing a multi-frequency energy bow. "These weapons aren't just tools," she warned. "They're tethered to your thoughts. You aim with intention, not your hands. Don't lose focus, or the hollow will find it for you." Triss spun their dual-toned blades, half vinyl, half digital steel. "I've been waiting to break these in," they said with a grin, but their voice trembled underneath. They stepped forward together. Every step into the hollow was like walking deeper into a memory that didn't belong to them. Whispering voices slithered through the static, broken laughter, cries for help, the sound of songs fading into nothing. The fog thickened. Then the towers began to move, and so did the goblins. They didn't crawl or walk. They flickered, snapping into existence with each pulse of the ground's invisible baseline. Crooked, glitching creatures with pixelated eyes and jagged grins. Their skin shimmered like corrupted VHS tape. and they carried nets woven from radio static. One of them locked eyes with Axel. Suddenly he saw it. The night he found out his older brother had been arrested for humming a melody under his breath. The shame, the silence at dinner, the way his mother wouldn't even look at the stereo anymore. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. It wasn't real. A beam of light shattered the vision. Loretta had fired a shot straight through the goblin's chest, exploding it into shards of old audio files and ash. "You think too loud, Axel," she shouted. "They feed on unresolved memory. Don't give them an open channel." Dozens more emerged, crawling down the tower walls like nightmare insects. Triss drove forward, slicing through a trio of them, their swords singing with distorted violin notes. Loretta reloaded, her bowstring humming with feedback. Axel clenched his gauntlet. He closed his eyes and thought of a sound, a rhythm he didn't fully understand. His fingers moved without moving. The antenna glowed, and the gauntlet released a sonic pulse that ripped through the nearest goblins in a wave of digitized harmony. They burst into pieces. The memory haze faded. Triss let out a breath. "We're clear for now." The fog thinned just enough to reveal a stone pedestal beneath a broken arch of copper and bone. Resting in the center, a gem the size of a fist, pulsing with a kaleidoscope of colors that refused to stay still. The dream crystal. Loretta approached it slowly, almost reverently. This is more than we hoped for," she whispered. "This one's pure." Axel looked around. The forest was quiet now, but something deeper stirred beneath the hollow surface, a presence watching. Triss knelt beside the crystal, placing a hand on the pedestal. "We should leave before it wakes." Loretta nodded and lifted the gem, careful not to break contact with her stabilized gear. The air bent around it like light through a lens. Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the hollow. The tower shook. The static snapped like a whip. Behind them, a massive shape began to rise, shrouded in smoke and noise. Not a goblin. Something older. Something angry. Loretta turned to Axel. "Run the extraction route. Go. We'll hold it off." Axel hesitated, but Triss shoved him towards the escape gate. "Don't let this song die before it's heard." He took off running, dream crystal in hand, as the forest behind him screamed. Chapter 9. The Dream Engine. Axel didn't stop running until the subspace changed around him. The hollow fell away behind like a closed memory, the darkness replaced by the cool blues and shifting grid lines of the labyrintharium. The crystal in his hands pulsed like a heartbeat. Each flash of light tugged at his mind, pulling emotions from somewhere deep, unspoken, grief, longing, wonder, the essence of dreaming, alive in one fragile shard. Loretta and Triss stumbled through the stabilizer gate, moments later, covered in glitch smoke and dream burn. Triss collapsed to their knees, coughing. One of the vinyl swords cracked down the middle. Loretta dropped beside Axel and looked at the crystal with wide, breathless eyes. "You did it," she whispered. "You actually did it." Axel offered it to her. "Now it's your turn." The nightmare extractor hummed to life. It had changed while they were gone, reacting to the presence of the dream crystal. The empty chamber at its core now spun slowly, cymbals pulsing along its outer ring. Around it, the labyrintharium shifted shape. Platforms realigned, cables slithered into ports. Lights dimmed to a pulse that matched the crystal's rhythm. Loretta placed the gem inside the extractor's core. It locked in with a hiss of static. "The moment we power this on," she said, "the machine will search for nightmares containing musical data, melodies hidden inside trauma, but it'll need a mind strong enough to interface with the dream directly." Triss stood, their voice still hoarse. "You mean someone has to go inside the nightmare?" Axel took a step forward before he even realized. "I'll do it." Loretta raised an eyebrow. "You don't have to prove anything, you know." "I'm not," Axel said. "I want to hear the next song." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Then sit inside the chamber. When the crystal glows red, focus on sound, nothing else. If the nightmare starts pulling memories, don't resist them. Just don't believe them." "Right. Casual mind-bending dream horror. Got it." Axel climbed into the chamber. The seat molded to him, far too comfortably, like it already knew his shape. The hatch sealed with a low click. Outside, Loretta's fingers danced across the interface like a pianist summoning storms. Triss knelt nearby, blades at the ready in case something broke through from the other side. The crystal flared red. Somewhere else. Axel opened his eyes to find himself standing in his childhood bedroom. The posters were wrong. The stereo was melted. His bed made of cassette tape spools, spinning slowly. A lullaby hummed from the hallway. He stepped outside, and the hallway stretched into an endless school corridor, lockers opening and closing with soft metallic thunks. At the far end a figure stood, humming. It sounded like his father, but Axel knew his father was taken years ago, arrested for humming a Nirvana riff. This thing wasn't him. It shimmered slightly, glitched, then stopped humming. It stared. From the lockers poured goblins, bigger than the ones in the hollow, eyes like loudspeakers, claws like violin bows. The song twisted into a broken jazz motif, the time signature collapsing in on itself. Axel activated his gauntlet, but it wouldn't sync. His heartbeat matched the rhythm of the corrupted lullaby. Every beat, a memory, being scolded for tapping his fingers in rhythm, hiding old headphones in his backpack, hearing silence on the bus every day. The monsters approached, and then a sound. Not his, someone else's. Loretta's voice echoed into the dream. "Axel, don't think like a fighter. Think like a listener." He closed his eyes, and he listened. Somewhere inside the nightmare, a melody played. It wasn't familiar, but it was his. Or it could be. He focused on it, let it grow louder. The goblins screamed. The melody became a wall of sound. The dream crystal inside the extractor surged with light. Back in the labyrintharium, the machine screamed with static. Triss held steady, trying not to look at the spiraling symbols on the chamber walls. Loretta's eyes widened as the extractor released a pulse of glowing data. Song recovered. File name unknown. File type, melody, raw, unmastered. Origin, deep nightmare. Subject, Axel Rush. The room went quiet. Inside the chamber, Axel breathed hard, but smiled. "I heard it," he said. "I heard something real." Chapter 10. The Door That Sings. The labyrintharium was no longer quiet. The air buzzed, not like static, but like a tune humming just beneath reality. The dream crystal pulsed in sync with the melody recovered from Axel's mind. It hovered gently inside the extractor chamber, casting refracted lights across the walls like prisms in motion. Triss was staring at the playback data with wide eyes. "This isn't just a song," they said softly. "It's a map." Axel stepped out of the chamber, still pale, a little shaken, but glowing with adrenaline. "A map to what?" Loretta turned up the interface so they could all see. The dreamscape projection twisted itself into a shape that hadn't existed minutes before. An unreachable sector labeled Delta Void. A circular, rotating pattern had formed in the center like the grooves of a record. "A new sector," she whispered. The song reshaped the subspace. The rules are still bending around it. Then it happened. A low resonant tone shook the labyrintharium like a subwoofer deep underground. In the center of the room a floating door began to appear, copper-framed, etched into music notation that none of them have seen before. A glowing note hovered at the center of the door where a handle should be, vibrating slowly like a heartbeat in sound. Loretta stepped toward it, breathless. A song door. Triss looked at her. "You've heard of these?" "I've theorized. A long time ago the Dreamway Society believed that certain dream-encoded melodies could unlock forgotten places in the world, doors not tied to memories but to potential. Songs of possibility." "Possibility of what?" Axel asked. Loretta smiled just a little. "Whatever the dream wants to remember." Back channel. Later that day, Loretta opened a secure channel using a Dreamline relay, a coded frequency that only Dreamway Society operatives could tune into while sleeping. She broadcast the signal from the heart of the labyrintharium. Report from Loretta Rose. Song recovered. Nightmare class melody. Subject, Axel Rush. Status, melody stable. Effects, sector shift confirmed. One new door open. Coordinates relayed in hidden scale format. She hesitated for a moment. Conclusion. The prophecy is active. Elsewhere, in a hidden part of the subspace, beyond the layers of encrypted dream code, a figure sat in front a wall of televisions showing static. They stirred when the message reached them. They turned the dials. The static changed. Then, sound. Just a note. Just one. But it wasn't silence anymore. The figure stood, pulling on a coat stitched together from old mixtapes. Their face was hidden behind a mask, shaped like a phonograph needle. "The doors are moving," they whispered. "Let the music begin."